Oh, snap. Capes and Cowls. I wasn't here last week, and now I'm here, and now Kristian ain't here, so it's just me and Coy. It looks classy as hell, man. So you're going to get one ridiculous ride as we talk about some crazy stories today. I mean, you got Robert Downey Jr. finally talking about Dr. Doom, what the process has been like since he was hired. Also, something to do with Tobey Maguire and Robert Downey Jr. involved in Iron Man. That's kind of crazy. You got some Peacemaker 2 talk, season 2. And some behind-the-scenes stuff kind of going on with Gunn and his lovely spouse. What else we got? ShangChi was actually supposed to be a major key element of Avengers 5. Is that going to stay the same? Who knows? We're going to talk to Crow. It's out today, yesterday. By the time this is out, I'm sure that myself and probably Kristian will have seen it. So, you know, if you haven't seen that already, go look at the out of the theater reactions. But either way, man, that's what we're talking about on Capes and Cowls today. We might run into some other stories if we think about it, but it's me, it's Coy, it's the graphics on my computer. Capes and Cowls, let's get it, man. Welcome to Capes and Cowls. We are back, man. We've got Coy Jandreau in the building and Spider Kitty over here checking out Deadpool. And we got this glorious, glorious two-shot, man. I am so proud of the work that I did this morning. His first story, Robert Downey Jr. is finally speaking on his Dr. Doom hiring. This comes from Dark Horizons, and Garth Franklin gave us the story. A month ago, Robert Downey Jr. shocked the film and geek worlds with the reveal of his role as Victor Von Doom in the next Avengers film. Speaking with the Awards Chatter podcast recently, he spoke about how he came back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how this will be quite different from Tony Stark. He tells the outlet he has kept in touch with Iron Man director Jon Favreau, Marvel Studios' Kevin Feige, and the Russo brothers in the years since leaving the MCU. Then, about a year ago, he got a meeting set up with Disney CEO Bob Iger for a theme park idea. Before that meeting, he had one with Feige in which the idea was floated of what it would be if Downey were to come back. Talking about the initial meeting with Feige, he dubs Feige a very sophisticated creative thinker who offered a plan about how we can not go backwards, how we cannot disappoint expectations, how we can continue to beat expectations. Feige then discussed the character first. He brought up Victor Von Doom. I looked into this character. Later on, he goes, let's get Victor Von Doom right. Once Downey was on board with the idea of Doom, he talked with Iger, who approved the idea. The response to Downey's hiring has been mixed so far, despite the jubilation in the room. The wording would also seem to shoot down the idea that this Doom is a Stark variant. Avengers Doomsday is set to debut May 1st, 2026. So, Coy, you know, hearing that it sounds like not only do we, like, we've heard enough confirmations that this isn't a Stark variant, but to hear it once again, to hear specifically that Feige genuinely had a plan, and this seems less of a scramble that a lot of people thought. What are your initial thoughts just kind of hearing how this meeting went down?
The biggest surprise for me is that it was a year ago. Not only is it impressive that they kept that under wraps, if this is true, but it's also, it does kind of disavow a lot of the rumors we'd heard about Doom. I mean, I think that within the top 5, like, rumor cycles is blah, blah, blah for Doom, blah, blah, blah for Doom. What I do find funny, though, is if it was a year ago in the Oppenheimer heyday and that rumor that Cillian Murphy was going to be Doom was literally because someone said that Oppenheimer actor and got the white guy wrong. Like, that'd be hilarious to me. If someone literally was like, oh, yeah, that guy from Oppenheimer. And everybody's like, oh, Cillian Murphy for Doom. And now it's been Downey this whole time. That would be so funny to me. I still think that I'm excited to be proven wrong. I'm still ready to be shown how the writing's going to work out. I still do not believe anyone's going to look at that man and not see Iron Man for a while. Like, I think it was a problem in other movies outside the universe.
Yeah.
And Doom is too important of a character for this not to be exceptional. So I think they know that. I just don't know how they're going to prove to me they know that up until I see the movie. So I'm going to try to stay open-minded until day one. But in the meantime, I'm like, but hey, Fantastic Four is in a few months. So, in a few months, I'll see how it goes.
That's true. And the thing that I thought was really interesting is just the idea that, like, you have a situation with, excuse me. Oh, Jesus. You have a situation with Gemma Chan.
I'm not there, guys.
Yeah, exactly. You have a situation with Gemma Chan where she obviously played 2 roles. You saw her as, a Kree operative in Captain Marvel, and then obviously you saw her in Eternals as Cersei. And I think the big difference there, honestly, and that's where I get a little concerned, is the idea that, Cersei is a main character. The operative she was playing, which I don't even remember her name, I'm sure I could think of it if I took a second, was not that paramount. She's probably on screen a maximum of 5 minutes and maybe has 10 to 15 lines. You know what I'm saying?
Was covered in blue makeup. Like, there's such different, like, you can't even recognize her as the Kree operative.
Which is why I have a feeling, just by the nature of Doom, with the exception of, maybe a few times to reveal his face, you may not really see Downey a lot. And it may be he's in the suit. I don't know if you pay
a man $100 million to be a mask. I don't, that's another concern, is Doom is a mask. Like, Doom is hiding his face, his one bit of extreme pride, his arrogance to hide his face because of a blemish or a fully scarred face, depending on how they do. You don't hire Robert Downey Jr. and buy him another fleet of islands, to hide him. And also, there's so much concern.
Yeah. No, I get it. I guess that's all I'm saying, is just this idea of, specifically, because Doom is constantly in the mask, that maybe you show him at the beginning to be like, if you're showing some sort of origin of him, or maybe flashbacks occasionally Doom using some sort of magic to present himself as a little more normal, things like that. But that was the one thing that I always thought was off about the original Fantastic Four movies, is that you were showing too much of Gillian McMahon, and not
Gillian McMahon,
good looking dude. I don't blame him. He's like, I want my kids to see that I was a major villain, but like, stop showing Doom's face. Doom really does have this ego trip going on, and this broken mind going on, that you don't want to show him quite as much. And so I think that there's going to be probably some sort of split. I think that he probably won't be in the suit, like, especially being a little bit like older now and things like that. You're like, especially with like stunts, you might end up in a because like even Ryan like was in the suit for a lot of like acting stuff, but had his stunt double / dance guy, and they showed that with the bye situation, that this was the dude that was doing the choreography. I think you get a lot of, hey man, you can do a lot of this as VO. Some days we are gonna need you like here for the acting, like to really whatever, but we'll allow for a lot of that to be kind of separated. But I get what you're saying. You don't pay him that much money to not necessarily see his face.
What's funny of using the example of Ryan is, like, Ryan, even when the mask was off, was so mutilated because that's Wade. I don't know if they'd even I don't even know if they're gonna do that to Downey Jr. because, like, Wade Wilson is that avocado that bleeps another avocado. I don't know if Downey gets absolutely mangled as Doom. And there's two continuities, right? There's the idea that Doom is completely messed up. There's the other one where it's like a little blemish, and his arrogance thinks this spoils his face. I can see them go a little blemish route for the sake of Downey, but also, like, Ryan Reynolds' stunt work. I think it's funny that he doesn't do some of the stunts that are like, the swordplay and action intensive, but likes to be thrown around because he thinks the way he mimes and like stands up in a more effeminate way and flails is more Deadpool than how cool stunt guys look. And he's talked about not wanting to look too cool. Those elements are such humble, I know this character. I don't think Downey's not going to do that. I don't know if the physicality of Downey can do that because he's 5'7" and Doom should be like 6'5".
5'7", and massive. I think he's 59 now, isn't he?
I mean, the stories about it being Victor Von Doom, the stories about it being a year ago, all those elements are exciting. I'm just going to have a hard time until May, I think, until I see something.
Yeah.
Or June. Is it June? When is Fantastic Four? No, it's July. May is Thunderbolts, July is Fantastic Four.
Yes.
And they haven't confirmed him in Fantastic Four, but he's in it.
But it's Captain America February, May is Thunderbolts, July is Fantastic Four, and then it sounds like Blade's
November's
not
Blade.
The November's Blade, yeah, okay. But we want to know what you think. We want to know what you think, man. How do you feel about finding out that Downey Jr. is saying that apparently they've been talking about this for over a year, that this wasn't, anything that just kind of spawned out of nowhere, that Feige apparently has had a plan? Well, you know what, Coy, before we move on, the last thing that this makes me realize, if they've been talking about this for over a year, so then what does that mean? That they've been talking to the Russos this whole time? Or does that mean that every other director that was then being pitched was having to understand, hey, this might happen with Robert, and you might have to deal with it?
I heard, and I don't know because it didn't come from Robert or Feige, so I don't know how true it is, but I also heard that he would only come back if the Russos came back. which would also lend credence to every rumor we heard was just bull, or that this 1 year thing is them like, we don't know the truth. But this is also that situation of, I think we know too much about how the sausage is made a lot of the time with these things.
Yeah,
like because Daniel Destin Cretton, who we're about to talk about with Avengers 5, was attached to Avengers 5 when it was a totally different movie. How long ago did that occur, when it was such a different movie that the Russos wouldn't have been that director, because it would have been a different film? So I think that a big part of Marvel's problem isn't just their movie's reception, it's everything leading up to it and how much everybody's like, scrutiny.
Yeah, no. That makes complete and total sense. So I go back and I throw the question to you guys once again. What do you think about, obviously, Robert saying they've been working on this for a year? Does we kind of now see that there's a weird timeline as far as, okay, well, when was Robert involved? If you were talking about these other directors, you had Raimi in there, you had Creighton in there, you had so many directors potentially involved. What do you think when you hear this story, and do you think that this all makes logical sense? Do you feel like this is a solid trajectory for this whole situation? And speaking of trajectories, let me go ahead and toss it to Kristian real quick to talk about two of our sponsors today. First of all, Rocket Money. You already know what it is. We've been talking about that. And to keep your energy going, you need a little green liquid. You got to go ahead and hit up that AG1. Take it away, Kristian.
I've told you about Rocket Money, guys. And the reason why for Rocket Money was so important is that I for a long time, I used to do these things where I'd be on my phone and I'd start searching for these apps. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll sign up. Oh, for free? Yeah, it's free for now. But then it's going to be $20, $30 a month, and you forgot that you're even paying it. And I was like, oh, well, this Rocket Money lets you know about what subscriptions that you have that you're not paying attention to. It can cancel subscriptions for you. It really is amazing. And it just cuts so much time out of my schedule. And I love it, because you don't even know how much you're paying in subscriptions. And you're probably paying way more than you think, because over 74% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. And I definitely did that. I can tell you that right now. Like, there was a couple, I'm telling you, some of these apps, I tried some of these apps and I'm like, oh, shoot, I forgot all about it. You think you spend around $62 per month on subscriptions, something like that, but it's close to about 300. You're close to about 300 a month, because Rocket Money is also, it's a personal finance app, and it cancels your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors all of your spending, and it helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Because I got full control over my subscriptions. I have a clear view of my expenses. It helped tremendously on this move. And you don't want to waste money. So it's got over 5 million users, and they say from what they said, the average people, I think overall, everyone that's using it, 500 million in canceled subscriptions. Wow. It saves about $740 a year. It's great. So stop wasting money on things that you don't use. You just cancel your unwanted subscriptions. You go to rocketmoney.com/thing, rocketmoney.com/thing. Very easy. rocketmoney.com. And I got to tell you about AG1. You guys know AG1. I mean, if you've been listening to this show long enough, you know that I love AG1. And people keep asking me. They notice. John even said when I started, new look, 20 pounds I lost. One of those reasons, AG1 became part of my routine. Because for a long time, I wasn't paying attention to what was going on in my body. It just wasn't. For me, I read labels. I verify that everything is up to the quality I need. And that is why I've stayed with AG1 for as long as I have. It is a research-backed foundational nutrition supplement. And it delivers daily nutrients, gut health support, and it's backed by multiple research studies, so you can trust what you're putting into your body. Because I like coffee. I used to drink so much coffee to keep up, but I don't need it anymore, not as much. Because after drinking AG1, I have realized that I have all this energy and I need less coffee to power my day. It turns out I'm not alone. Because in a research study, 91% of people noticed they needed less coffee after 60 days of drinking AG1. 97% of people in a research study felt more energy after 30 days of drinking AG1. That's crazy. 91% of participants noticed that they need less coffee after 60 days of drinking AG1. That's me. Energy is a majorly important reason why it comes to I need so much energy for parenting. I can tell you that right now. AG1 contains ingredients to sustain energy so you can be the best version of yourself within each day. And it really has worked for me, and it's helped me on the plane, everything. It's easy, it's satisfying to start your journey with AG1. If you go to AG1 and you can get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. You got to go to drinkag1.com/bigthing. drinkag1.com/bigthing. It's the one product I trust to support my whole body health. It is. It's AG1.
All right. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Rocket Money and AG1, for sponsoring the show. Again, we've talked about this a number of times. Like, Coy, I know you've done AG1. I don't know if you've also done Rocket Money, but just speaking on it, man, I have been doing AG1 pretty consistently now, and I notice a difference, honestly.
I am always running around because of how we started the show with doing too many things, and I need that, like, oh, look, vitamins, because I haven't had any. So it's a nice, like, efficient. I keep travel packs in my car. Not even kidding. I'll get, like, a water bottle, and I'll just, like, I have a little tiny funnel and the travel pack, and then I got it to go. So I keep it to go AG1.
I love it. You love to see it, man. All right, so let's go on to our next story. Okay, our next story here, also from Dark Horizons and Garth Franklin. Shang-Chi was key to Avengers 5, apparently. Now, amongst the post-Avengers Endgame films and scenes, not a lot of great work stand out from Marvel Studios, with the most well-received Loki, Spider-Man No Way Home, WandaVision, and Deadpool and Wolverine focusing on established characters. One of the few to be well-received was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which saw the introduction of Simu Liu's Shang-Chi character, who hasn't been seen since. It was always expected he would be back for whenever the next Avengers film comes around, and while a direct Shang-Chi sequel has been teased several times by Liu and others, it has yet to be officially announced by Marvel. Now, Outlet Inverse says that says they can confirm via their sources that in the original plan for the fifth Avengers film, back when it was Avengers the Kang Dynasty, Shang-Chi would have been one of the film's main leads. That's not a big surprise, considering Shang-Chi director Dustin Daniel Creighton, who we were just speaking of, was the one originally slated to helm Kang. Of course, the project has now changed into Avengers Doomsday and has since been retooled to feature Robert Downey Jr. as the villain Victor Von Doom. In addition, the Russo brothers are taking over as directors, so it's not clear if the role will be reduced under their watch. Marvel did announce some blank release dates the other week, with one of those having a decent shot at being a Shang-Chi direct sequel. As we read that story, I wanted to do a quick check to see when timeline stuff went down. And the one thing that Downey was saying, and this was recently, right, is he said they've been in talks about this for roughly a year. Now, do you want to take a wild guess what happened a little over a year ago that probably got Feige and Downey and Iger to start talking?
Simu Liu appeared in Barbie.
That's a great guess, but no. I was actually going to say that the original arrest for Majors happened on March 25th. So what that sounds like to me is they obviously did not immediately jump to, hey, we're going to have to mix this all up and all that kind of stuff, right? But you did end up in a situation where already the wheels are turning. Oh, God, what if this goes completely the wrong way? Because when he was arrested, obviously, it was brought up about, like, hey, this is like a DV situation and things like that we don't know how it's going to play out. But I bet you Feige immediately was like, whoa, okay, we need to have a backup plan here. Because if this goes too sideways, we may need to part ways with Majors. So that's the thing that kind of pops out in this story to me originally. I know it's supposed to be Shang-Chi was supposed to be a major part of this, but I think that maybe that's where some of the wheels started to come off, and maybe even Daniel got pulled off the movie as the director instead of him being like, I'm going to walk away. If you're talking to Robert and Robert's like, I only do it with the Russos say they would do it anyway. So what do you think when you hear all of that? Or do you jump to that as well? Or do you think that I'm just kind of pulling a thread here that doesn't make any sense?
Well, I have to imagine that the original idea for Avengers 5 was almost a Shang-Chi 2 in the same way that you have a lead in any Avengers film. Like, the Avengers films were largely led by the big three. I imagine that Shang-Chi was going to be one of the big three in the it's hard for me to say his name, Daniel Destin Cretton movie, for, it being the thing he set up. I think originally the 10 rings were going to tie into Kang. I think he would have been someone that, like, either invented them or did something with them. I think the bangles tied to Kang. I think a lot of the stuff we haven't seen pay off yet tied to Kang. So I think the original movie was kind of a Shang-Chi, Kang core, you know, like where we had Infinity War be kind of a Thanos movie. I could have seen where that Avengers 5 would have been a Kang, Simu Liu kind of two-hander and maybe a third party. But I think if that big of an ingredient goes away, it's a different souffle. So I don't think there was I don't know if it was Daniel Destin Cretton's fault as much as it was, I don't think it was ever his fault, but I think that when that didn't line up, he didn't have the same movie, and then maybe he didn't want to, and then they had to do Damage Control, Downey gets brought in, Russo brothers. And hey, at the end of the day, all of this is happening at the same time while they're trying to right the ship. I've said it many times. I think that more than half of 4 and 5 were good, but that is not the same ratio as phases 1 through 3. And the internet, it's also very different about Marvel now. Phases 1 through 3, we were largely like, oh my God, they can make a blank movie. And we're very excited about it. Now we've had these movies a lot longer. There's more scrutiny. So I think the intensity of we got to fix this brought on, well, the Russo brothers made these billion-dollar movies. We've got Downey, we've got all these things. So if something gets cracked, how do you fix it? You look at like the hits, and I think that's what happened to Avengers 5.
Yeah, I totally get that, and I think, you know, part of that as well. It feels like when you have a restaurant and they do that one thing. They're like a burger joint that like does the best smash burger, the fries slap, and they do a shake. They're very basic 3 things kind of going on. And that to me feels like phases 1 through 3. And maybe you do a little experimental here and there. Look, we're going to do a barbecue burger for like a season. We're going to, you know, do like, instead of just the vanilla and chocolate, we're going to do a cookies and cream shake or a orange colored shake for Halloween. And that's your Guardians and the random things you're throwing in there. And it's just going gangbusters. You hit your 10-year anniversary. You bring in all of those things that you had sampled. And you've always kept it at your core 3 items, right? But then after that 10-year anniversary, you're sitting here and you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm a fat ass. So the fact that I made this all about fast food. But
I'm hungry, dude.
I know. Maybe that's it. I didn't eat breakfast. But then you end up in a situation where it's like, wow, our 10-year went so well. We should just permanently expand the menu. And then it became a situation of we don't just do burgers. We do chicken nuggets now. We do, veggie burgers. We do salads because people like salads. And all of a sudden you're like, well, you put all this energy into this other stuff now that not only is it mediocre because that was not what you were trained at doing, now your burger doesn't taste as well. You had to cut kind of on the meat that you were bringing in and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And so all of a sudden everything on the menu doesn't necessarily hit quite as well. And your barbecue burger comes back. That always slaps. That's your Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with your Guardians. Like the little things that you had, they're coming back in and those still hit. But everything else is just a little bit off. And that's, to me, when you're describing phases 1 and 3 versus 4 and 5, that's the talk about the oversaturation with Disney Plus. That's the talk of we need to do 4 to 5 movies a year type situation, plus your specials. Like, we thought it'd be good for the menu to expand, but it hasn't necessarily been a good thing. And
I think they just brought their head chef back. You know, they brought the guys that were doing the things that people wanted and knew they wanted. I just worry about the head chef coming back that wants to make a different menu. Like Doom is very different than Iron Man, and people are going to be expecting the Iron Man menu. And I'm really curious what that looks like when he's making dessert instead of lunch.
And the other thing is, obviously, Downey has worked with the Russos for these two. I'd love how we've kind of come back. I'll bring it back to Shang-Chi, people. Don't worry. But with him talking about I only want to work with them, I think the only thing that's interesting about it is they have never helmed Downey directly as Iron Man. Like, they had him in Civil War. They had him in the 2 Avengers films. And so they obviously know how to work with him directly. But obviously now he becomes the full-on star focus as Doom. And so that's the other thing that'll be kind of interesting as far as that goes. Because remember, he started off as obviously with Favreau the first 2 and then Shane Black. So it was just a little bit different as far as that goes. So that's interesting to me. But I think bringing it back to Shang-Chi, I think the biggest mistake that happens, they need to find a way, in my opinion, to involve Shang-Chi with whatever they're doing with Doomsday. I understand you'll probably get him in Secret Wars, but to pretend like he was not such a standout star in what has been these two phases recently, if you leave him on the bench until Secret Wars, I think that is a massive mistake, not only from what he was able to do, period, with general audiences, but in the same way that, like, you're seeing a lot of people a lot of black folk at least, are starting to genuinely get upset with this idea of writing T'Challa out of everything, and that being an issue. I think you're going to end up with a situation where all of the folks around the world, Asian or otherwise, that were really falling for this character are going to get pretty upset if he just doesn't appear,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a very long time, and I think some of that, much like what Marvel's dealt with many other outside their control circumstances, like Simu got hurt, Simu was booked on other stuff. Like, I do think the big comeback was going to be Avengers 5, and now that it's not there, they need to find a place on that schedule for Shang-Chi too. I totally agree. I think it's like we've noticed.
Yeah, no, 1,000%, man, because let alone, we've talked about this before, the sheer number of post-credits that have happened, that nothing has happened, has been mind-boggling, because none of them went this long without connecting to something.
I've occasionally been like, Harry Styles, and I love Roy Kent. But like, we've definitely noticed a lack of Shang-Chi, which is different than a post-credit scene. It's a whole movie. Like, I personally been like, I'd like to see Druid again, but I don't think a lot of people are clamoring for Barry Keoghan back in the MCU as much as I am. Whereas everyone is like, where is Simu? Which is fair.
Well, both in the sense of him, because of just having a whole movie that was extremely successful, so it feels like this was a random one-off that nobody talked about. But it's also from the standpoint of that post-credit where it's like, yeah, your rings are kind of tied to X, Y, and Z, and you're talking to Wong, and you're talking to Captain Marvel, and now you're welcome, you're an Avenger, and blah, blah, blah. And then obviously you have Kamala Khan as well with her bands and everything that's going on with that. Like, to not pay that off and to take this long to not pay that off is almost infuriating.
I think they should have had a phase 4, and I didn't think this at the time, but I do think they should have had a phase 4 Avengers film. I do think they needed a team up film, and I think a lot of people wouldn't have nearly as much bad to say about phase 4 if it had one.
I agree with you, and I think that that's the thing that we're forgetting as well, is that has always been the way you round out a phase, is an Avengers film, is a massive team up of all the people that were involved in the said phase, which is honestly closer to what comics would be anyway. Is Iron Man was doing some stuff, Captain America was doing some stuff, Thor was doing some stuff, Hulk was doing some stuff, and then, all that stuff, there was a through line? And then, like, here is, like, your for the lack of being able to pull an event right now, here's your Civil War. That I obviously am not thinking in terms of movies, but in terms of just books. You know what I'm saying? Like, to not have this come together at the end of a phase, and that, to me, spelled desperation more than anything. Phase 4 is over. We're in phase 5 now. Like,
yeah, that was when I think all their big variables hit, like, the pandemic. I think the strike was soon thereafter. I do think they needed a nice wrap up for phase 4, and I think that's where Shang-Chi could have really shown. But now that we're this deep into phase 5, it's definitely like, so I think a next announcement they need is Shang-Chi. I think they need it.
What was the end? It was
Wakanda Forever.
It was Wakanda.
Yeah, which I thought was a clever way to make the phase about grief feel like a resolution emotionally.
Yeah.
But I don't think it felt like a resolution cinematically. No. And I think that people don't think emotionally. I think they think in patterns, like by nature. Like, we are naturally pattern forming. And if phase 1 had an ending, phase 2 had an ending, phase 3, I don't think the elegance of an emotional ending was enough for it to feel concluded.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. So we talked about Shang-Chi a decent amount. I went on a burger rant. I apologize. I need to make sure I eat breakfast in the morning. What do you think, man, hearing that Shang-Chi was originally going to be in Avengers 5, but obviously with Daniel being out as the director, we don't really know where that sits. Are you upset that you haven't seen more of the character? Let us know what you think down in the comments as we go on to our next story. So TheCrow is out today. I believe myself and Kristian by now have both seen it and done it out of the theater. I think, Coy, you're not going in the next 24 to 48 hours, right?
I've already seen it.
Oh, okay. Well, do you want to do a non-spoiler, just initial thoughts?
I think it is a simple fix to make it a full star better, and you call it a Crow. instead of the Crow.
Not a crow.
I think the biggest flaw with the film isn't that it's a bad movie, and there are elements that aren't great, but it is a really interesting gothic love story.
Okay.
But they never should have named them Eric and Shelley. And I think that my biggest issue was there are sequels that I've never seen. This was my first Crow since 1994's The Crow. I have such a love for The Crow. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I watch it every October 30th. Devil's Night is an important, like, I watch The Crow on Devil's Night. Like, that's my thing. And it is Eric and Shelley's story in 1994. For some reason, they name these characters Eric and Shelley, even though the sequels never did. So I never saw the sequels out of respect for the Brandon Lee movie, because I was like, there's no way it can be as good. And in this trailer, I was like, let's see what a modern retelling is. But then they literally make it Eric and Shelley, but then the story is completely different. And I spent too much time comparing it to the original that I might not have, intellectually knowing The Crow could be passed on to other entities. Like, I like the idea of it being a Bond, you know, a Batman, a Spider-Man, where passing the mantle. Instead, they named them the only two characters that would be hard to not compare. So A Crow was a decent time. The Crow, I thought a lot about a movie that's really precious to me, and they overcomplicated a really simple love story, which I think is also a flaw with today's movies. Like, some things are beautifully lean. The story of The Crow is about a sadness so profound it locks you in to not being able to fully be resolved into death. This movie has that as a plot, and then adds a subplot, and then adds an addendum, and then deals are made, and you're like, why are we doing, like, it's the burger metaphor. Sometimes you just need lettuce, tomatoes, mustard, ketchup, and cheese. Sometimes that's enough. But this one was like,
no meat, Coy? You just want a lettuce tomato sandwich?
The burgers, I'm saying a burger with lettuce, tomatoes, mustard, cheese.
You shouldn't mention beef. That's why I was like, oh.
Guys, I've gone vegan, and then cheese was vegan. No, a burger can just be the ingredients, but sometimes they put too many toppings on it. You can't taste anything because it's a mess of topping. This movie wasn't as bad as I think a lot of people are going to pan it to be. I think people are out for this movie. I think people are going to be gunning for it. And I think people are probably going to be very disinterested in my middle of the road review because I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I gave it 2.5 stars as a movie, 2 stars as a Crow movie. If they'd changed it, just their names, it would have been the 2.5. But if you love The Crow, you're going to be like, why was that a decision they made over and over again?
I mean,
visually stunning, though. It's really pretty.
I'm still very interested in what this experiment will be because I have stayed true. I intentionally did not watch the original Crow or any of the other like the sequels or anything like that because I as a control here, as like a control to see what it is. Because you guys originally were like, you should watch it to me. I was like, but shouldn't I? Now we can kind of determine if this is something that folks, you know, that aren't familiar with the story are into, and it's just the fondness of it is going to prevent people from going forward or what. So I'm looking forward to one way or the other. That's interesting to know. If it's just a mess of a story, I mean, it'll be a mess of a story, and we'll see what happens.
But it might not bother you because you don't have the lean, mean, clean version to compare to, and it's only as complicated as some 2000s comic movies. And that's not necessarily a compliment or an insult. It's just there was an era where we had a comic movie, and they were like, you got to make this and this and complicate something that could have just been like, believe it. So you might not be as bothered because you don't have the efficient one to compare. I like the era control because all the things we liked about the trailer, the visuals, the atmosphere, the tone, I still like. And I do think there's some elements that are so James O'Barr, like the comic creator James O'Barr. There's moments where like Skarsgård looks like a James O'Barr drawing that were really cool for me as a comic fan. But as a ride or die, I've watched this movie since I was way too young and haven't stopped watching it every year. That affected my experience. I'm actually super curious about your review.
Yeah, no, I'll do an out of the theater later this evening. I'm going this afternoon, and then I'll do an actual review of it for tomorrow. But yeah, I'm very curious what y'all think. Are you going to be watching The Crow? Are you going to go see the reboot? Or are you like, nah, you're not going to ruin my childhood. You must be out your damn mind. You are not going to suck the life out of me and ruin my joy. Which, speaking of which, let me tell you about our next sponsors for the show. That's Liquid IV and Joy Mode, 2 staples here with the Kristian Harloff channel, Capes and Cowls, big thing. Kristian, take it away, man.
I was having a barbecue with the family, and I was going to go and went to pick up some games for the kids to play, and I was picking up cornhole, and while I was at the sports store getting it, I kept seeing Liquid IV, and more, I'm so excited that people are learning about Liquid IV because I've known about them now for a bit since they've been on the show. It's the summer. The summer is thick right now, and your favorite summer treat could be giving you extraordinary hydration. Liquid IV has refreshing summer flavors like popsicle firecracker, it's got rainbow sherbet. It hits the spot when you need transformative, hydrating relief all summer long. So I really do enjoy it. It's been nice to have it. I moved, and I live in a very humid area now, and it's great to have Liquid IV. It really is, and I love this popsicle one, so I'm showing it right now. So what you want to do is they have so many different flavors too that makes it just really, really fresh. And you can choose from their line of sugar-free flavors. They have raspberry melon, they have white peach, they have green grape. It's great. You can go to the website and you can find all of it. It keeps your wellness rituals fresh and to keep you motivated, keeps you hydrated. So what you want to do is you want to tear, pour, live more. One stick, 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. It's powered by LIV Hydroscience, which is an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. It's got 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. So indulge in hydration this summer with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV, but you got to use liquidiv.com and use the code BIGTHING at checkout. You get 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today. Use that promo code BIGTHING at liquidiv.com.
All right, thank you to our friends. You know as well as I do, you've been standing at that gas station, you look over and you go, oh, sexual pills. I'm going to try one of those. Don't do it. They are not good over there. Not healthy. But Joy Mode is. What is Joy Mode? When you go to the gym and you take something to help you with your workout, it's the same thing with Joy Mode. It's a sexual enhancement performer, man. It's amazing, and it works. The issue is that over-the-counter pill, it contains unregulated chemicals, it suggests unsafe doses, and it includes the risk of several other health problems. That is why we are partnered with our friends over at Joy Mode. I tried it, and man, oh man, it just makes you feel good. It's that extra pep. It's not necessarily a step, but you get what I'm talking about. Whether you're looking to spice up your intimate moments or increase your confidence in the bedroom, Joy Mode makes all natural and science-backed supplements dedicated to helping men perform better across their core functions. Their trademark product, the Sexual Performance Booster, it's every man's solution for increased blood flow, firmness, stamina, and performance. It comes in a palm-sized packet like your favorite electrolyte powder. Simply mix 6 to 8 ounces of water 45 minutes before sexual activity and watch the magic unfold. Literally. Redefine your intimacy and go to usejoymode.com for 20% off with the code BIGTHING. Appropriate. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code BIGTHING at usejoymode.com. Ingredients with integrity. Joy Mode. All right.
Thank you so much to Liquid IV and Joy Mode. Man, I love me that Joy Mode, man. I'm not going to lie.
I haven't gotten any in a bit, and man, both of these powders are a non-80s great powders.
Bro, and if you take the Liquid IV first thing, you hydrate it, and then you hit that Joy Mode.
Prepare. This combo.
She ain't ready.
It's a good afternoon, evening, and morning.
Oh,
it's a good journey.
It really is. All right, we got a couple more.
Not Missy Elliott approved. No Minutemen in this journey between Liquid IV and Joy Mode.
Well, it would be approved. She didn't want a Liquid Man. That's what I'm saying.
This is exactly what Missy Elliott wanted.
All right, let's get to our last
couple. Make her speak in reverse.
Put your game down and make her flip it and reverse it, bro. All right, here are our last couple stories. All right, so as you know, Peacemaker Season 2 is popping off. James Gunn shares some new behind-the-scenes look at Jennifer Holland. His wife is Amelia Harcourt. This is from Comic Book Movie. Mark Cassidy is reporting. Like most of her Season 1 co-stars, Jennifer Holland is set to reprise her role as Argus agent Amelia Harcourt for the second season of Peacemaker, which is currently filming in and around Atlanta, Georgia. Writer-director James Gunn has now taken to social media to share a new behind-the-scenes look at his real-life wife as she prepares to film a scene. The photo isn't particularly revealing, but it does look like Harcourt will be sporting a slightly different hairstyle for her small-screen return. Now, though the photo has since been removed, a mural was recently spotted on set featuring John Cena's Peacemaker wearing a slightly different costume, his father in his white dragon outfit, and a mysterious third character who we believe will turn out to be Christopher Smith's brother Keith. If you watch season 1, you'll know that Chris accidentally killed his older brother by punching him in the head when their father forced him to fight for his Aryan pal's entertainment. But the theory is that this image was painted in an alternate timeline where Keith lived and joined his father and brother as part of a vigilante team. This may seem like a bit of a stretch, but we do know that Robert Patrick is set to return as Augie Smith, despite being killed off in the season 1 finale, spoiler alert, and it would explain James Gunn's comments about season 1 not being a part of the DCU. Rather than simply pretending certain events, the Justice League cameos, for example, didn't happen, he might be planning to bring Peacemaker and supporting characters into a new reality. Danielle Brooks and Steve Augie, who have also been confirmed to reprise their season 1 roles with Sol Rodriguez and David Denman, joining the fray as Sasha Bordeaux and Larry. Hearing all of that, the photos were very interesting. They're just basic. It's literally just, Jennifer just on her phone staring into the camera, and then literally the two, Jennifer and Freddie, just with the stunt team. And they're all smiling, and you can kind of see some like water bottles and stuff. I feel like seeing all of this, the only thing that's interesting to me is to kind of hear the mural or the statue that's up.
It kind of confirms a lot of our theories, right? Like we said the best way to get Peacemaker is probably through one of his helmets. And if he had the motivation to find out he could save his brother and his dad, that would get him in another universe. That would confirm that the first season wasn't canon, but did happen. All that works. It kind of like... It feels like, well, yeah, that makes sense.
I just got a good idea. Knowing Gunn, because he can be a little troll from time to time, I would not be surprised if he decides to actually kind of poke fun at some of the other, like the Multiverse of Madness. And so this idea of being like, I could have my family back. And so he just starts going through realities and like essentially... the way that Wanda is just destroying the Illuminati and everything else, you're going to give me my boys. I could see him be like, I'm going to get my daddy and my brother, and they're not going to be evil, and we're going to be in this together. And like, I could totally see them making just complete fun of multiversal stuff in general, but specifically attacking Multiverse of Madness more so than Deadpool and Wolverine, because that just has like a very different flavor of how you went to find that.
Deadpool's already a satire. It's always harder to satire a satire, which is why like the scary movies only went so far. It's like the Ouroboros of a snake eating its tail with comedy. You go at the serious stuff.
Yeah. No. I completely agree. But yeah, I mean, look, I thought Peacemaker was arguably, because the year that originally came out was 2022?
I thought it was 2021, but I could be wrong.
Maybe 21.
But either way, it was a few years ago, and it was exceptional. It was one of the best things out of the DCEU.
Yeah. No. I completely agree. It was 2022. Okay. It was That's why it was January of 22.
Okay. So my brain is still programmed.
Time
it's all
compressed. Yeah. Plus what the 21 was No Way Home. So you're coming off of No Way Home into Peacemaker, and at the time, dude, No Way Home was still in theaters, just crushing, like absolutely crushing. Because I don't think it even came out of theaters until like the end of March.
Yeah, because it kept making records. Like that movie. I miss that era. What a fun time to love movies.
Seriously, man. But either way, I mean, again, this to me was, if not the best, it was like top 2 best superhero shows that year. So I have a lot of faith. I have faith in Gunn and with this world that he built out, put an incredible cast together. So I'm here for it, and I'm curious what y'all think. We're curious what y'all think, man. Are you excited about Peacemaker 2? Season 2, does any of this stuff that you hear get you geeked out? Is there something that we were talking about that you think maybe we missed? Let us know in the comments, man, as we get to our final story of the day. Okay, so our last story, Robert Downey Jr. reveals a surprising role Spider-Man star Tobey Maguire played in him playing Iron Man. Now, this is from Josh Wilding over at Comic Book Movie. Marvel Studios considered many actors for the lead role of 2008's Iron Man. They ultimately ended up choosing Robert Downey Jr., an actor considered a risk at the time due to his troubled past. However, the studio understood that was behind him and cast the perfect Tony Stark. Superhero movies didn't have the best track record in the mid-2000s, though 2008 was something of a turning point between Iron Man and The Dark Knight. Talking to The Hollywood Reporter, Downey credited Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies with convincing him it was the right time to suit up. In real time, I saw how difficult they were, how rewarding they could be, and how popular comic book films were becoming, Downey said, of spending time with Maguire while he was playing the iconic Marvel comic superhero. I had been clean long enough, hungry even longer, and I could feel the obsession coming back with manifesting the best version of myself. I had strangely been furiously strength training 6 times a week before I even knew this role was coming, Downey added, and my shrink had told me, just start acting like something great is going to happen and get ready for it. Man, ain't that some advice to take in life? Jeez. With the actor now set to return to the MCU as the villainous Dr. Doom, it's entirely possible he and Maguire could share the screen. The multiverse all but guarantees it, and we're sure it's a meeting Downey would be fully on board with given his history with the Spider-Man No Way Home star. So, I thought maybe this is going to be a thing where Tobey was like caping for him or one way or the other. I don't know their relationship quite as well. It sounds like it's more the idea of watching somebody that he's friends with meet with such success and really wanting to get his life back on track. That obviously we know a lot of that. Then you had Favreau pushing for him to come through. I think that Terrence Howard took a little bit of also helped out with that a little bit, if you remember correctly.
I don't remember. 08 was, long. And this would have, Also, you're forgetting an important 08 date and coincidence, or not coincidence. Toby and Robert played lovers in 2008 as priests.
In Tropic Thunder. Now, mind you, that came out that year. But so
that means they would have been working together.
But Iron Man would have been already. But I'm wondering
if that's how those cameos worked out. I wonder if those cameos worked out because he was obviously playing Iron Man the same time as he played the priest. I wonder if he's like, I know who we need to play my lover in this vignette. Spider-Man himself.
I mean, look, I could certainly see it
when they hold those beads together.
Oh my god. It's the walk up from behind while holding the beads. That's the one that gets me every single time. That whole movie. Dude, I don't know which of those is funnier to me. If it's that, as far as the trailers, because they got me. Because they really did just build it like actual trailers. And I feel like the screening I went to did not have regular trailers. They just ran the ones in the movie, which was genius. But I'm reloaded. I love, hell yeah, I love, hell yeah.
That movie is so good. But that's the same year. I'm just giving credit to maybe that cameo was a little bit more informed than we ever realized.
Maybe, man.
And I love that he credits, the Spider-Man movies were kind of one of the things that showed people they were plausible films. I mean, X-Men, Spider-Man, and Blade were rapid fire. All of a sudden, things escalated. 98, Blade. 2000, X-Men. 2001, Spider-Man. 2006, Spider-Man 3. 2008, Iron Man. It's.
I thought Spider-Man was 2002 because you had 9/11 happen, and so that they ended up pulling the Twin Towers.
So
because 2004, I believe, was Spider-Man 2. Why I remember these things?
It works. You're right. Yeah. The Showdown kept that line of thought together. He's still playing, folks.
But it's an interesting in the reporting, which is a good point. It was very hit or miss. You hit a string of this is working. So you had Blade, X-Men, Spider-Man, holy crap, X2, Blade 2, Spider-Man 2, holy crap. And then all 3 of their third movies, trash. You would hit such a high of 6 films that everybody goes, this rocks, and then just because Batman and Robin was pre-2000, wasn't it?
98? Yeah.
I think that sounds right.
I think it was 98.
So then again, you're ending up in a situation where 3 and even 4, if you get to a 4, just don't hit the same. So obviously you can't go so far back to go Batman Returns, Batman Forever.
But 2005, Batman Begins, that had to help inform how good the culture was for comic movies.
Yeah.
So you're in a range of X-Men, Spider-Man, Blade, Batman Begins. That's a good era.
But then you also had Superman Returns in there in 2006.
And Fantastic Four and Ghost Rider.
And both Fantastic Fours, all the Ghost Riders, the Punisher. it really was just, I never saw the second
Thomas Jane's Punisher is pretty great. I think it's 04.
When was Warzone though? It doesn't matter. The point is you're on a roller coaster of inconsistency. Like when it was good, it was great. It was bad, it was awful. So I understand this idea of like, look, this could be a big payout, and especially from the standpoint of he is trying to make this comeback. And I think the other thing that's so interesting, and I appreciate that life lesson. He's weight training 6 days a week. And his therapist straight up saying, start acting like something great's coming and be ready. And I genuinely think that that's just solid advice for everybody. That's what I'm going to take away from this story is act like something great's coming and you'll be ready when it's time, man. So I think that's the big takeaway from this story.
I love it. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a nothing burger like you were describing, all that crap on there and no burger on it. Jack off.
It was implied.
It was implied. So let us know what you think in the comments, man, about, Tobey really inspiring Robert for wanting to dive into something like an Iron Man. I'm very curious your thoughts. But with that is going to be the show. It's a little shorter than normal, not super crazy, but it is a little bit shorter than normal. I know Coy's got places to be. It was kind of a quiet news cycle right now. So, Coy, please tell them where they can find you and the stuff you got going on, man.
If you want to see my full TheCrow review, I got a full 12-minute talk about it because of my passion for TheCrow over on my page, trying to grow my page. I'm at almost 34,000, trying to get to 36K by my 36th birthday, which is September 15th. So I'm trying to get 2 more. So jump over there if you love me. I'm also covering all sorts of comics, all sorts of other movies. And I just did, as of this airing, the Napoleon Dynamite 20th anniversary. You can check out the replay of that over at viewslipstream.com. So tons of stuff everywhere. As Winston and I said at the top of this, I refuse to rest and it will catch up to me. And only Missy Elliott can save me is the message I got out of this show. Help me, Missy Elliott.
Jesus, I hope your heart doesn't explode. Okay, so you can find me at The Swaggy Blurred on all the platforms, especially over here on YouTube. My show Blurred Breakdown. As you kind of can see with this, I've sorted out a lot of the graphic stuff and things like that. The show is really coming together. It's looking very beautiful. I even may have just figured out, because I was having some streaming issues, I may have figured out how to keep said graphics into the stream to kind of give it that more polished look as well. If you are watching this right now, I would have streamed yesterday, so you can go back and watch the replay on that. I also clip out the show, so if you don't have time for the full thing, you can check out those clips of how I was covering each of those stories. And other than that, Spill the Tequila with John Roca. That's like every other week, essentially. We will be having Game Time coming back very soon as the NFL season is kicking off. So please just check out all of that content, man. And then, of course, the Kristian Harloff channel. If you haven't already, show a little class. Subscribe to the channel. I should have said that up top. Sorry, Kristian. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Throw a like on this and comment on all the stories. Let us know what's going on. You know that Kristian does all sorts of stuff on here. He also has his UAP channel if you want to check that out as well if you're into all that good stuff. And that's going to be it. Capes and Cowls here every single week. Signing off for myself, for Kristian, I am Winston A. Marshall, and we'll see you on the flip. Peace.